friends, professors, judges, and family. Please close your eyes and let me paint you a picture. You're young, 8 or 9 years of age. You wake up in a panic, the moonlight clawing its way in through the open garden window. "Mom," you call. "Mom." The nightmare is still fresh in your mind. Your mother coughing blood, the corners of her mouth still stained red. Doctors running, frantic. You cry louder, for she hasn't come, and she has never not come. And silence. Your father comes to tell you that she cannot come, for she is still sick in the next room. Your worst nightmare becomes reality. Your mother, who knows when you're not doing well, who always gives the best hugs. Now you watch her as she struggles until she can't even raise her head to greet you when you walk in the room. You stand on, watching as your mother struggles in a fight between life and death. An ember growing in her body, growing until it turns into a raging inferno, consuming her completely. Picture the screaming and yelling, defiling the halls that she guarded so faithfully. Or maybe you're like me, and it's all you can do when you close your eyes at night not to remember the screams. Your mother's surgery taking place in your own home. Is there no way to get away from it? Your feeble voice rising in the strength of prayer to your heavenly Father, and yet there is no answer. So young to lose someone so dear. Silence and death. To describe his experience, for this was Lewis's childhood, he wrote, "With my mother's death, all settled happiness, all that is tangible and reliable disappeared from my life." C.S. Lewis was a man who knew what it meant to seek joy, even in suffering. The staggering weight of such a sorrow was not lost on him, and yet he bore that weight willingly. After many years had passed, Lewis is now watching his father be consumed by the same sickness that sapped the strength from his mother's bones. Cancer and cancer and cancer. My mother, my father, my wife. I wonder who is next in the queue. Those are the words of Lewis. And I understood that all too well because in one sense, that is also my experience. My voice in Lewis's words. Cancer, and cancer, and cancer. My cousin, my father, my uncles, are they next in the queue? Will the cancer that consumes their body be their end? When I was 8, my cousin slowly burned with cancer for years. My feeble voice raised in prayer, I learned the sting of death. And when that ember first caught the charred cloth of my father's flesh, I lost hope. And when it finally consumed him, all settled happiness, all that is tangible and reliable disappeared from my life. Yes, Lewis penned it well. There was this poem I always loved reading as a child that I rewrote a few years after my father passed away. I've heard it said, "The kiss of the sun for pardon, and the song of the birds for mirth. But the sun burnt my heart until it was hardened, and the birds like you left the earth. No pardon, no song, no mirth, just silence." When Lewis wrote about seeking God after his Joy died, that is, his wife, Joy Davidman, died, he struck at a deeper reality. After he lost so much and he was still trying to seek God, that takes faith. But when you knocked, the door wasn't opened. You heard the lock click, the second lock click, and the bolt being dragged across the door. And then silence. Lewis even goes so far as to say, in 1961 no less, that an iron curtain has descended across the continent of his very being, an impassable divide between God and him. Lewis once wrote, "To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. Many years after his mother and father passed away, Lewis married a woman after she was diagnosed with cancer. Who does that? Who goes from the pain of losing their mother to the grief of losing his wife? And we know what that grief caused him. I mean, he wrote a whole book about it. I didn't feel like that, Lewis. How could I willingly take on yet another blow? No, after my father's death, I was more like Rodriguez from the novel Silence, watching everything around me burn, and still, God is silent. So how was this man able to marry a woman whom he knew would soon be taken from him? Love? Yes, of course. That has to be part of it. But I think there was something more. How could anyone willingly go back into that silence? Lewis said he was never able to take the pain of his dear wife, nor did he ever think that if he was given a chance, he could or would. So how did this man continue to be the one that we know of today as characterized by joy? After his joy was taken from him, after his faith was put to a test, he himself said he almost lost his faith in a loving God. Lewis could not take his wife's pain or sickness. However, he writes, "It was allowed to one, we are told, and I find I can now believe again. He has done vicariously whatever can be so done." He replies to our babble, "You could not, and you dared not. I could and dared." So there is one who took our suffering, sickness and grief. One willingly entered into that silence. My God, why hast thou forsaken me?" There is one who is raised on a cross, one raised from the grave, one raised to life, raised into the heavens, and is now seated at the Father's right hand, surrounded by glory and majesty, with myriads of angels singing his praises. By his rising, he brought us life. We can now say, these light, momentary afflictions are preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. My father dying of cancer was anything but light. It was the heavens to my Atlas, the stone to my Sisyphus. And my cousin's suffering was unto me my Prometheus's eagle, feeding on my liver for eternity. A reminder of screams, pain, and suffering. But Atlas, Sisyphus, Prometheus, all their trials and sufferings are as needles in the fields of Elysium, or as a drop of ink in the glass sea of God's glory. Now, Lewis knew something that is so easily forgotten. In The Weight of Glory, he wrote, "The proper end of love is marriage, and the proper end of discipleship is heaven, the throne room of God." How was he able to marry joy? Love? Yes, of course. But also he knew that heaven was the proper end to his discipleship. Lewis knew that when he finally stood before the throne, filled by the train of the Father's unseen glory, that all he could do is praise. For he said that praise is the mode of love that always has some element of joy in it. His joy would be complete, and its earthly sorrows, the deaths of his mother, his father, his wife, won't even compare to that weight of glory. As one of Lewis's favorite poets said, "For now my vision, as it grew more clear, was penetrating more and more the ray of that exalted light of truth itself. And from then on my vision rose to height, higher than words which fails before such sight, and memory fails too at such extremes." When we finally behold the weight of glory, memory fails. All that we experience is the unseen glory. All suffering, light, momentary afflictions are lost underneath that weight of glory, and all we can do is praise, which culminates in a heavenly-minded joy beyond all comparison.